Hi everyone, Harris here with iDownload Blog. I've been covering a lot of different iPad keyboards over the past couple years, including several iterations of Logitech's own Folio Touch and Combo Touch keyboard for the iPad, whether it be the budget iPad 8th generation or the iPad Air. And I've always loved the keyboard, but each generation just gets a little bit better. And this year, with the 2021 iPad Pro, it is almost perfect. It is a super excellent case and so easy to recommend over something like Apple's Magic Keyboard. We're gonna look at this keyboard, Logitech's Combo Touch for the iPad Pro 11-inch for the 2021 model. This case does fit the 2020 model, but there's just slight issues with the speaker compatibility, but otherwise things such as the camera module and the USB-C port and the buttons all work. Now there's three main aspects about this year's iPad keyboard that makes this really good. Three main changes, and I'll talk about those first. So starting off, right off the bat, it's slimmer than ever. The previous keyboard options have been rather chunky. So here I have two cases for the iPad Air and the iPad 8th gen, and they're both really chunky. There's the keyboard portion, which is not super thick, then there's also the back shell, and that's definitely a lot chunkier. Or if you got the iPad Pro version, it was not detachable, so it's just one pretty chunky unit. This year for the iPad Pro, it is considerably thinner. It's no longer super bulky. It's actually kind of a nice size and weight. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not thin and it's not light, but if you compare it to something like Apple's Magic Keyboard, this feels right at home and really good and a great upgrade over the past models. Secondly, the second thing that I noticed about this is that the iPad Pro version is finally detachable. This is awesome. This means that when you're not typing on it, you don't have to just wrap it around the back. In fact, when you wrap it around the back, it comes off of the magnet, basically telling you to use it like an iPad. And because this shell is thinner, this is much more comfortable to use one-handed. It's a really excellent experience. Thinner than ever, works super well, easily detaches from the keyboard. Very similar to how Apple's Magic Keyboard works, where you can just take it off the whole system. Obviously, you're not using this as a bare iPad, but this is no longer a burden to use when you're using it just as the iPad because it's just not as thick as it used to be. The third difference, the trackpad is now bigger than ever. This is huge news. Not only is it just surface area much bigger, but you can also click anywhere. Whereas before you could only click on the bottom half, now you can click anywhere on the keyboard with a more satisfying click, and I think just a slightly better finish on the trackpad as well. Still not as good as Apple's, but that's okay. It's very good, very big, and you can click anywhere. This is a huge upgrade in pretty much every aspect of the trackpad. And then every other amazing feature about this keyboard option remains. So you have things such as the function row up top. I love the function row. It's fantastic for changing brightness or volume or backlighting or media controls or even locking your iPad or taking a screenshot. You can do all of that from the function row up top, which Apple's keyboards all lack for the iPad, and a lot of third-party cases also lack for the iPad. Secondly, the keyboard is still backlit, which is always awesome. I'm not personally a huge backlight user, but at night this can be really useful, or just any dark environments, or if you're just someone who likes backlighting in general. And you do have controls over the backlighting brightness on the function row. Third, the finish on the keyboard itself is a nice fabric finish. It's not the best looking, it's rather dull, and they did add a tiny little Logi logo on the back of the iPad. But otherwise, it's comfortable, it feels good when you're typing, when you're resting your palm on it, and it is pretty resistant towards spills and water and things like that, so you don't have to worry about getting the surface of it dirty or wet. Next, the keyboard experience, the typing itself, as always, is excellent. Now this year it feels like the actualizing force to press the key is a little bit less, so it's even springier than normal. It's still very clicky, very fast. The keys are very smooth, so there's not any type of texture or grip on it. I don't find it to be quite as crisp or solid as Apple's Magic Keyboard, but I could absolutely type away on an essay with this. It's very comfortable. I don't have any problems with any aspect of the typing. And of course, as always, this attaches using Apple's Magic Connector, whatever they call it. So it just uses magnets, attaches very securely. It's gonna stay on pretty well. And you don't have to worry about Bluetooth, you don't have to worry about any type of connection. Really good. The next advantage of this is it has a really solid kickstand on the back, which really lets you adjust the viewing angles on here. Super comfortable. So whether you're using this just to watch something, or review or read something on your desk without the keyboard and you just want that kickstand, that's amazing. Or whether you're using it on your lap or on a table or in your bed, whatever the circumstance, this kickstand is super reliable, and this does have an advantage over Apple's Magic Keyboard, because when you take the iPad off of the keyboard, you no longer have protection and you no longer have a stand. With this, when you remove it from the keyboard, you still have an excellent stand. It is really, really good. Now, one downside perhaps this year, or one change, is that it no longer has a little loop for an Apple Pencil or a Logitech crayon, which is interesting. So you can no longer securely store a Logitech crayon or a non-magnetic Apple Pencil or stylus to your iPad. So if you're using a third-party magnetic stylus, and I've reviewed several of those, and you can check out that video, you can still use it to attach to the iPad because it does have a slot at the top for your pencil, but it no longer has any type of clasp to keep it secure and locked in. Not an issue at all for me, but I could see how this could be a slight downside for some people that use third-party styli, a Logitech crayon, or just want a really secure iPad when you close it, but I haven't found it opening up when I have it in my backpack or anything like that. And then two final notes about this case. The price did go up $40 over the previous iteration, so that is substantial, but I think it's worth it. It's a much better case. Wish it didn't have to go up, but it did. And then secondly, not all the USB-C cables and adapters I have fit with this case on. My Nomad USB-C cable does not fit, for instance, but other things such as my Spigen cable, or of course Apple's cable, does fit. And if you're trying to use any type of dock or hub, you're going to need an extension cable most likely. So really at this point, the only reason I would recommend something like Apple's keyboard is if you're looking for something super slim and you don't need a trackpad, then you can go with their Folio option. Or if you want a slightly different viewing angle experience, because the viewing angle is really great with Apple's Magic Keyboard. But otherwise, the stand is awesome, the typing experience is fantastic, the trackpad is huge, it has backlighting and function row. So this year, I don't have any major complaints about this keyboard. I've always had small ones in the past, but this is just really, really excellent. If you want to check it out, I'll leave links in the description as always. Thank you, Logitech, for sending it over, but all of my thoughts are my own. Let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to compare this to any other keyboard. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.